Small story for all the youths and all the adults to know that if you want to see the Imam of your time, the most important thing is protection of salah. It's narrated from one of the scholars, one of our teachers in Iran. He narrates an incident where he says that in the time when the Shah was the ruler of Iran, Iran wasn't the most religious place in the world in the time of the Shah. He says, us as ulama, we used to wear turbans and people would look down on us because the Shah had given a bad name for the turbans. He says, so therefore whenever we'd go on a bus or on a train, we'd worry about who sits next to us, because maybe he might make fun of us, maybe he may attack us. He says, one day I'm sitting on the bus, alongside me comes this youth, spiky hair, tight t-shirt. You know, sometimes appearances are deceiving. Sometimes we think some people aren't religious. He's got more religiosity than the one who's grown the long beard. He says, the person sat next to me, I thought, oh, I'm going to be on a long journey. And believe me, I've been there on planes. Sometimes you think, oh, who's sitting next to me? He says, the person sat next to me looked very modern. I thought to myself at this moment, this person who's sitting next to me, I'm sure he's going to attack me or make fun of me. Ya Allah, help me on my journey. He says, I didn't approach him, I didn't say salam to him, I was a bit in fear. He says, the journey continued, nothing happened. At 1:13, he says exactly at 1:13, this young man next to me, spiky hair, tight t-shirt, said to the coach driver, stop. Coach driver looks around at him, why? Stop, I want to pray my dhuhr. Maulana is saying, I'm looking, I'm thinking, did I just hear what I heard? This person is insisting on the coach driver to stop for Salat al-Dhuhr. He says, at this moment I looked at him, I'm like, is this guy serious? Again, the guy looks at coach driver, he says, if you don't stop, I will not move forward. You must stop, I want to pray my salah, it's 1:13. I cannot allow my salah to go for 1 second. Maulana says, eventually I told the coach driver, I said, look, I'm a Maulana, stop, let us. He says, when I got off the bus, I looked at him. I said to him, look, I've got to ask you a question. First, I'm rude for not having said salam to you. Number two, you just showed me how to act. I would have let dhuhr go and say pray it at 5:45 when qadha is at about 6:15. But you have insisted that the coach drops. Why? He says, let me tell you my story. He says, my parents are amongst the richest families in Iran. I'm their only child. They send me to Paris to study medicine. He says, when they sent me to Paris, I was completing all my studies. It came to the final exams for medicine. He says, in my final exams for medicine, we had come forward. It was the morning of the exam. You know, in the morning of an exam, you're always tense. You don't want anything to go wrong. He says, we all went on the bus. He says, the bus was traveling. All of a sudden, the bus has a puncture. Exam is about 10 minutes away. This bus driver says, there is no way the puncture can be sorted. He said, I'm looking, I'm thinking, please help me. It's my finals in medicine. He says, the bus driver said, it's impossible. Until the puncture is solved, until it's repaired, we will no way reach there until 1 hour. You might as well forget any degree in medicine. Do you know what he said? He said, I remember my grandmother, although my family wasn't religious, my grandmother is religious. She used to always mention a name of someone. She used to say, Ya sahib al-asr wal-zaman. Understand this Shia to understand protecting salah. He says, so therefore I don't know who Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman is. I've just heard this name from my grandmother. I thought if my grandmother's so adamant that this person helps, I'll call him. He says, you know how I called him? I said, Ya Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman jaddati. Ya Sahib Zaman jaddati, which means, oh master of the time of my grandmother. He doesn't know who he is. So he's saying, oh master of the time of my grandmother, please help me. And I promise that if you help me, I will never neglect my salah, never. He says at this moment, the bus driver comes running in, he says, Alhamdulillah, someone's come and he solved the puncture. At this moment, straight away. He says, when I went out to see who it was, there was a man standing there with light I have never seen. Face illuminous. He said, he looked at me and he said, my son, please don't neglect that promise that you asked of me. He said, when I turned around at that moment just to go and thank him, he wasn't there, he had gone. He said, that's why at 1:13 I'll stop any coach, or 1:15 or 1:17, because the salah of Muhammad is the most important institution in the religion of Islam. Without unity on the salah, the Muslims will never achieve success. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the following dua. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma inna narghab